Hi, I'm Bill Gaines, host of the Outdoor View, the place where we educate, connect, and learn to protect our outdoor traditions. Today, I have the pleasure of having with me LeeAnne Mila, who is the Agricultural Commissioner for the County of El Dorado here in California. LeeAnne, first of all, thank you for your time. As everybody here in our county and far beyond are well aware, back in late March, we had a young man, Talon Brooks, that was killed by a mountain lion here in El Dorado County. His brother was tragically injured as well, and that really put the spotlight on what's going on with mountain lions and mountain lion encounters here in our county. Everybody that's paying attention to this has their own thoughts on what may or may not be happening with mountain lions in California. But you play a real interesting role because you are the ag commissioner and you're the one and your staff are the ones that are responsible for tracking what's happening with livestock. You gave a real interesting presentation to the Board of Supervisors back in the middle of July on data in our county when it comes to mountain lion encounters, specifically with livestock and pets. There's a lot of people out there that have theories as to whether mountain lion populations are going up or down or around whatever in our county. But your data is the only real rock solid data, if you will, that I'm aware of that really takes a look at whether we're seeing an uptick in mountain lion activity or not in our county. So tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, your background, and then if you could provide that presentation briefly for our viewers, and then we'll chat a little about it. I'd really appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Bill. As Bill said, LeeAnne Mila, El Dorado County Agricultural Commissioner. I've been here for 25 years, and for almost 2 years, I've been the Ag Commissioner, but 10 years prior to that, I was the Assistant Ag Commissioner, and so been really involved in what's been going on here in the county with mountain lions. We have the wildlife specialist is underneath my umbrella that goes out and verifies mountain lion kills and what's been going on. And so I have the data that is actual on the ground data that we've compiled. And that's what I presented to the board.
And I believe that you've got a little more new data in since you gave that presentation back in the middle of July. So yeah, please go ahead. I'd like to see the new data, and I know we have a lot of viewers that are seeing this for the first time. So thank you for going over it again.
Okay, well, I will share my screen and we can look at the presentation. So this is updated as of today. I have data through August 12th on depredation issues with mountain lions. So as Bill said, March 23rd, 2024, a mountain lion attacked two brothers while they were antler shed hunting near Georgetown. The younger brother sustained injuries, but was able to call 911. The older brother sustained fatal injuries and was pronounced dead at the scene by emergency responders. California Fish and Wildlife issued a depredation permit to the county's professional trapper. The trapper was able to locate and euthanize the mountain lion within hours of the incident. And then they were able to confirm that it was the same mountain lion through DNA samples. They also verified that that mountain lion did not have anything in its stomach. And it was a younger mountain lion. So, while mountain lion encounters are uncommon in California, I've actually lived in Pleasant Valley and then in El Dorado County for 25 years, and I have never actually come face to face with one. Definitely have seen what they do, but so it has been up until now pretty rare to see an encounter with a mountain lion, and we haven't had a fatality since 2004. But since that attack, numerous domestic animals have been killed by mountain lions within the county. Many are happening during the daytime hours, and owners of the animals have contacted California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and the first thing that they issue is a hazing permit, which our county trapper assists with in utilizing his dogs in many cases. We have increased calls about mountain lions being observed on people's property, and the sheriff's office is getting increased calls and have issued safety tips that can help. So in California, mountain lions, just for those who don't know, are especially protected non-game species. That's following the passage of the California Wildlife Protection Act of 1990. Proposition 117. Mountain lions have not been hunted in California since 1972, and in 2020, I think prior to 2020, El Dorado County was managing their wildlife populations. And I'm going to show, I mean, their mountain lion populations, and I'm going to show that we all know we live up here in the foothills and we're going to have mountain lions. That's just a part of what our county is. But in 2020, a policy was implemented by California Department of Fish and Wildlife that implemented 2 strikes on a parcel. So a mountain lion had to kill 2 things on a parcel within 11 days. Has to be the same parcel. Can't be your neighbor's parcel, can't be in the area, can't be contiguous parcels. It's the same parcel. And we all know mountain lions don't understand parcel lines. So this letter was issued in 2020. And it's a really lengthy process to try and get a depredation permit. CDFW, in many cases, constituents have said they're non-responsive. They change their requirements. They'll say, well, you need a taller fence. You put a taller fence in. Then they say, well, you need to get rid of your shrubs. You get rid of your shrubs, and they want a radio. And it's been different responses depending upon, you know, who the person you get that responds to the depredation permit request. And our response areas it changes on who is able to deal with things. As you can see from 2017, I just want to point out that non-lethal permits were really unheard of until 2020. We would verify that a mountain lion had done some damage and lethal permits would be issued. Providing that people were taking care of their livestock and making sure they were safe. I mean, when my kids were little, they knew that if they put their goats away at night, they were going to be good. They let their goats out all day. We never had mountain lions take animals during the day. That was just unheard of. And if you left your goats out, though, it was on you, because more than likely you could end up losing some animals. So as we go to 2024, 2023, we had 50 non-lethal permits issued and 13 lethal permits. But in 2022, 35 non-lethal permits, 4 lethal permits. I'm going to show you that the data is cyclical for mountain lions and mountain lion kills based on how we used to manage our populations, and we're in an uptick, which is why I believe we have more lethal permits in 2023, because the mountain lion population is out of control. So just a little bit on the fish and game codes. California Fish and Game 4800 is what protected mountain lions. 4801, the department may remove or take any mountain lion or authorize an appropriate local agency with public safety responsibility to remove a mountain lion that is perceived as an imminent threat to public health or safety, or that is perceived by the department to be an imminent threat to the survival of any threatened, endangered, Canada, or fully protected sheep species. Any person, 4802, any person or the employee or agent of a person whose livestock or other property is being or has been injured, damaged, or destroyed by a mountain lion may report that fact to the department and request a permit to take the mountain lion. Take is, I will show you, defined later, doesn't necessarily mean euthanize the mountain lion. The California Fish and Game Code has a definition of it that's a little bit different. We'll look at that later. But upon receipt of that report pursuant to Section 4802, the department or any animal damage control officer specifically authorized by the department, that would be the El Dorado County Ag Department's wildlife specialists, shall confirm that the depredation was indeed a mountain lion. We take pictures of the tracks. We look at the kill. Mountain lions kill differently than dogs or coyotes. And that confirmation process has to happen within 48 hours. And then the department, meaning the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, shall promptly issue a permit to take the depredating mountain lion. So in 2014, 4801.5 was implemented, and this is the regulation that says, unless authorized in this chapter, non-lethal procedures shall be used when removing or taking any mountain lion that has not been designated as an imminent threat to public health or safety. So I'm not going to read that whole code, but even with that code in place, 2014, we were still managing our mountain lion populations until 2020 when that memo was issued. So here's the definition of take. And this is where I say it's a little bit different than what one would normally think. It says take means to hunt, pursue, catch, capture, or kill, or attempt to hunt, pursue, catch, capture, or kill. And that's where the hazing permits come in. That's a take too. So just a reminder that the public has the right by 4807 to deal with the mountain lion. So it reads, any mountain lion that is encountered while in the act of pursuing, inflicting injury to, or killing livestock or domestic animals may be taken immediately by the owner of the property or the owner's employee or agent. You have to report it to the Department of Fish and Wildlife, but as long as, you know, they were in the process of doing this, the department issues an after the fact depredation permit, and we really haven't had any issues with that. So mountain lions, as you can see, starting in 2001, I have data that shows these are depredation permits issued. And then the red is actual mountain lions killed, taken, euthanized. So in 2001, we have roughly 20 depredation permits issued, you know, less than 10 mountain lions killed. 2002, it goes up, probably, you know, 12 permits and 12 mountain lions taken. 2003, and we kind of stay above that 10 mountain lion for a 3-year time period, and then we go down, and then we stay down for about 5 years where we take 1 or 2 mountain lions, less than 5, but then we start back up again because the mountain lion populations, those mountain lions, you know, what do I hear? 2 cubs every breeding cycle. So our populations are building, and then we're having more depredation of our livestock, and we're taking more mountain lions, and then the population goes back down and the requests go back down. And when we get to 2020, you'll see the depredation permits are up because we've gone down, but now we should be in the uptick where we're taking more mountain lions to keep our population of apex predators in check, and that's not happening. And so what you'll see in my next slide is data that shows the amount of livestock kills is unprecedented in 2024. And I have data up to August 12th because we are not managing our mountain lion populations. So I want to be clear, I'm not advocating for mountain lion hunting. I'm not just advocating for, you know, all out slaughter of mountain lions. I'm advocating that we go back to the process of managing our mountain lion populations like we did in the past. Prior to 2020, we managed our mountain lion populations. We didn't decimate them. We just managed them. There's no other animal in check to manage the mountain lion population other than possibly wolves, which we do not have in El Dorado County at this time. So if you look at the way that it would go, we live in the foothills. We know that we're going to have mountain lion kills no matter what. And so we roughly would lose 20 goats a year, you know, 10 sheep a year. And now, right now, I am up to, so in 2023, we'll look at it. In 2023, we had 41 goats, 39 sheep, 4 alpacas throughout the 20 years or the 14-year period that I'm showing here. We lost more alpacas in 1 year than we ever have. And alpacas are normally, you know, they're locked up at night. They're a high value animal. Then we get to llamas. Llamas have always been guardian animals, and we lost 8. 3 adult horses. I raise horses. You never seem to have to worry about a mountain lion and a horse. And then 2 emus. We never had emus killed before. And if you don't believe in dinosaurs, go look at an emu's claws. I can't imagine that mountain lion really even wanted to try to tackle that, but it did. So now we come into 2024, and as of, and in 7.5 month period, I have 75 goats, 40 sheep, 1 adult horse again, 5 donkeys. We're back to another livestock guardian animal. Everybody always said, oh, get donkeys. They'll keep the mountain lions away and the bears, but they're just killing them. 7 types of fowl, could be chickens, turkeys. And I've had this year 3 dogs, that have been killed. I also have 2 that have been injured. And then, of course, we've had the devastating loss of human life. I believe that this data clearly shows that if we go back to the policy that we had in place, which is what we are going to push Department of Fish and Wildlife to do, as we have a critical situation here, and we are trying to get Fish and Wildlife to go back to that implementation of allowing us to manage our apex predators, the mountain lion, and protect our county. So just a little bit on reporting. If it's immediate threat, you feel that your life is in danger, call 911. The sheriff will respond. Get out there immediately. If you have an injured or dead livestock or pets, call my department. And that's 530-621-5520. It's on the media that the Outdoor View came up with. And that way we'll get the wildlife specialists out there to verify that it was indeed a mountain lion that took the livestock, and then we'll get you into the process of reporting it. It needs to be reported to Fish and Game, and then we'll get the process of the depredation permit started. There's also a Facebook page of the constituents of Dorado County have started to learn more about where a mountain lion's being sighted in the county. There's the Facebook page, the Dorado County Mountain Lion Sightings. Lets people know, gives them an idea. Is it in my neighborhood? And there's also a map that has been produced to really gives you an idea about where all the sightings are in El Dorado County. I would argue that pretty much everywhere. So any questions? You can, call the department, and we'd be more than happy to reach out and help. But I just want to clarify that we are moving forward, trying to get the policy changed and get it done as quickly as we can to protect our constituents.
Thank you for that, LeeAnne. And before we dive into the numbers, you did give this presentation at the Board of Supervisors back in July. And so after they took your testimony, I know the sheriff testified during that hearing as well. So what was the result? What did the board choose to do at the end of that discussion?
Well, Bill, you gave testimony at that hearing too, or at that update. The board directed me to come back to them within 60 days, which is going to be closer to 45 days now. And that's roughly that time period, and let them know to draft a letter for CDFW to really demand that California Department of Fish and Wildlife goes back to what they were allowing us to do to manage our mountain lion populations prior to the memo that was issued in 2020. And then I was also directed to work with you on a possible legislative change.
Yeah, so as you indicate, that there's 2 things at play here. One is we talked about Prop 117 that was passed by the general voters back in June of 1990. That was a vote of the people, and the proposition did include language that says that the legislature can change some of the laws, statute, if you will, that was put in the Fish and Game Code by Prop 117 by a 4/5 vote. So, I mean, that's a pretty heavy lift as far as getting that done. But that's one thing to play here, is possibly going back and seeking to get that 4/5 vote to make some changes to the Fish and Game Code provisions that were put in place by Prop 117. The other thing that you focused on in your presentation was the depredation policy. Now, Prop 117 doesn't do anything to impact depredation policy here in California, or specifically El Dorado County. That's continued to be left up to the Department of Fish and Wildlife, who can make that change administratively. They don't need a vote of the legislature. They just need the signature of the director of the Department of Fish and Game to do that. So that's a much easier fix, if you will. You talked about what's happening on the livestock front over the course of the past several years, and how we've seen a major uptick on that. But the other thing that you didn't mention that I'd like to mention is the verified mountain lion attacks on humans. You mentioned the devastating one on Taylor Brooks back in March, and his brother Wyatt, right? But the department has been tracking mountain lion attacks on humans since 1986. Since 1986, they've got 24 verified mountain lion attacks on humans statewide. Interestingly enough, to qualify as a verified attack, it doesn't mean that one chased you and you happen to, get into your house and slam the door behind you or jump in your car or whatever. That doesn't count. To qualify as a verified attack on a human, that individual has to be injured. I had a friend of mine years ago that was turkey hunting that was calling turkeys. Well, he called in a mountain lion. Fortunately, he had a shotgun. That mountain lion charged him. He killed that cat. It literally landed in his lap because that cat was so close that he just happened to have a 12 gauge shotgun with him at the time, right? That one doesn't count because he wasn't injured. So that just goes to show the bar that has to be crossed, if you will, to qualify as a verified human attacked by a mountain lion. But again, 24 attacks since 1986. 9 of those have come since 2020 when this new depredation permit policy went into place. So there's another indicator of perhaps this policy is a little too tight to allow us to appropriately manage problem cats.
I don't know, the depredation policy of issuing hazing permits first, and a predominant amount of the depredation permits are hazing permits. I don't know if there's any science out there that even shows that, pelting them with bean bags or playing a radio, or there's, chasing them with a quad. It even works. We're having such a problem with mountain lions during the daytime doing these kills. I mean, that's something maybe I didn't bring enough of attention to, because we had a dog taken at 4:30 in the afternoon in front of an owner, a 60-pound German Shepherd mix. A lot of these kills are happening in the daytime, and that's why I stress when I talked about my kids, if you left your goats out in the day, and I went to work, they went to school, we never had anything like that happen. But if you leave them out at night, they're going to come in, and sometimes they'll just do a mass killing and not even eat them. So I just, things have changed. They're habituated. They're not afraid of people. They're not afraid of dogs. They're not afraid of noise. And they're decimating our deer populations in the higher elevations. And I think even now I'm hearing that even in the more residential areas where we have our deer populations that are being affected.
And you mentioned that Prop 117 was passed by a vote of the people in June 1990, and it did designate mountain lions as a specially protected mammal, but it wasn't based on science. It was based on emotions, and that proposition wasn't a mandate by any means from the population of California at the time. Passed 52-48. I mean, 52% to 48%. So it was a narrow victory, and it did establish mountain lions as a specially protected mammal, but not because their populations were in peril at all, just because they wanted to protect mountain lions. But going much earlier than 1990, it was actually 1971 when then Governor Ronald Reagan passed a moratorium on hunting of mountain lions, and that wasn't passed because we were concerned that mountain lion populations were in peril either. It was passed because the Department of Fish and Wildlife had been going with the number of 600 mountain lions statewide since I believe it was 1916. Hadn't changed that population at all. So, the legislature put something on the governor's desk that basically said, we don't know how many mountain lions we have in California. We don't have a mountain lion management plan. That they were hunting them at that time legally. But if we're going to allow California's hunters to legally hunt mountain lions, we should really know just how their populations are doing, right? So let's stop hunting temporarily. Let's do a mountain lion management plan. Let's get a real updated count on how many cats we have in our state. And then let's take it from there to see whether or not we should have a legal hunting season for cats. It's the same process we do now for elk, sheep, deer, and everything else. I mean, we want to know that we've got healthy, sustainable populations of big game animals before we go out there and do a hunting season or decide how many tags we're going to allocate. It's just science-based biology, right? And that's really what the governor back in 1971 signed into law was, let's base mountain lion hunting on science. And right now we don't have good science. So that moratorium was for 4 years, and then it just kept being extended until June of 1990, and then the proposition was passed, and then we're at where we're at now. A lot of people have come in and said, like you said, put them in at night, do lights, radios, guard dogs, you name it, and those cats won't bother your sheep. Well, these cats, because they haven't been pursued by hunters, they haven't been ran legally by dogs for 50 years now, and those cats, any fear that they might have once had of humans, hear a dog barking off in the distance, go the other direction type thing, they don't have that anymore, which is why when Taylor and Wyatt were attacked, that was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I know that a lot of the reports that you're getting now are middle of the day type attacks. I mean, they're not only out at night anymore. So, I mean, I appreciate, landowners taking all those steps to try to protect their livestock, but it just doesn't give them the safety that they used to have 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago.
No, and by us not managing our populations, I believe there's too many mountain lions and there's not enough food. These guys are hungry, they're getting desperate, they're habituated to humans. It's just it's a no-win situation, and we really it's critical. We need to change this.
And this isn't about hunting mountain lions. It's not what this is about. It's about the safety of our public, and the safety of our livestock and our pets. We're seeing a lot of cats being picked up on cameras now. Well, a lot of people argue, well, you have more cameras now. Well, we do. But your data is indisputable because it's rock solid data on the number of livestock kills. The types of livestock that are being killed, the loss of pets, and of course, even as I mentioned a little bit earlier, the attacks on humans. I mean, everything has gone up since our ability to get a permit to legally take a problem lion. That bar's been raised back in 2020, and we've seen the results of that.
And I just want to be clear, a problem lion that has been verified to be killing in an area, and people have been doing their due diligence to keep their animals safe. They have night enclosures, they have livestock guardian dogs. They've done their best to get rid of what shrub they can. And that's what we look at. We're not advocating for people who don't do what they need to do to protect their animals.
A lot of people want to argue, well, mountain lion populations haven't changed. We're just moving into their territory and so on and so forth. But as you mentioned, they're apex predators. I mean, here in Dorado County, wolves aren't a problem yet. I think that problem's coming because the wolf population in California is growing rapidly. Bears, they'll haze a mountain lion off an adult deer kill or what have you, but they're not controlling mountain lions, right? And if we've got, I think the latest number I've heard is they're guessing, 4,500 cats here in California, and they've been saying that for several years now. And if half of those are females, and they're having young every year, and there's not a lot of cats being taken by depredation or permit, a small handful being hit by cars. And that's it. I mean, how does that lion population stay the same? It's going up. It has to be going up. And I think your numbers are proving that. And
yeah.
I'm also seeing similar tracking what's going on in other counties. I know Santa Clara County, San Mateo County, Modoc County, Inyo County, all of these counties are seeing big upticks in mountain lion problems there as well. So, at any rate, I guess something needs to be done. I'm glad that we have the support of the El Dorado County Board of Supervisors to move forward on step one, trying to work with the Department of Fish and Wildlife and getting some common sense changes to that depredation policy that was, revised back in 2020, so that we can at least have the ability to manage problem cats. I mean, everybody out there, you touched upon this. We all think mountain lions are truly a species that we want to protect. but at the same time, we do need to control them, and we haven't managed them in any way really since 1972, when that law went into effect that Governor Ronald Reagan signed at the time, and we've lost even additional ability to manage them back in 2020, and I think we're seeing the results on the ground now that you and your trapper are tracking.
You know, their mountain lions are exquisite animals that we would all argue need to be protected, but we're turning them into bad neighbors by not
Okay.
managing the population.
Right. So I mean, I think we want the general public to know we're working on this. I mean, we've got your meeting regularly. You and the sheriff are meeting regularly with the regional staff of the Department of Fish and Wildlife here that are
Yes.
responsible for Region 2, which includes El Dorado County. There's some discussions going on at the Capitol for possible legislation in 2025 of the Fish and Game Code. Again, depredation policy is not covered by the Fish and Game Code. That's something that's an administrative policy that the department has the ability to literally change with the signature. There's been some talk about tree and free, right? I mean, somehow, if we could work on installing that fear of humans back in mountain lions, I'm not saying with a hunting season, but with at least allowing people to run them with dogs, tree them, pull their dogs back, let the mountain lions go. But at least that would reinstill that fear that they had at one time when we didn't have these problems. And I think that would push them back to going back to their normal behavior of hunting at night instead of during the day, and trying to steer clear of some of these
Well,
areas.
and I also believe that, you know, the increased, by us not managing them, the population is so high, they're decimating our deer populations. I really think from what local specialists and biologists have told me that, you know, we are just prioritizing our apex predators at the detriment to other species.
Right, we're seeing the same thing with bears. The
Yep.
department, as you and I have talked about, LeeAnne, the department is in the final stages of redoing their bear conservation plan. Their draft is out, public comment period has been held, and now they're finalizing the tens of thousands of comments that they got, and working that plan to finalize that. Here, I imagine in the next couple of months, they were saying 30 to 40,000 bears in California for years. That, after extensive studies for 2 years, extensive studies, they're saying we're closer to 60 to 80,000 bears in California, right? And I think same with mountain lions. It's like, you know, the populations are much higher than we think they are, and getting a handle on what they really are, and then making changes both in regulation and code and administrative changes with depredation policy to adjust for that. I think this just makes common sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you mentioned deer populations. Um, I'm heavily involved with deer management here in California. I have the honor of representing the California Deer Association. California's deer populations are absolutely in peril. The migratory herd that we used to have is almost gone. Deer are now congregating around some of these rural areas, you know, where there's houses, 5, 10, 20 acre parcels, whatever it may be, because they're safe there. And the migratory herd itself have been so decimated. We know that mountain lions will kill adult deer. That's their favorite prey. Also, we know that bears will chase a mountain lion off of the kill of an adult deer, and that cat will go off and have to kill another deer, goat, whatever it may be. And so when you've got these super high bear populations, bears, we've documented, kill a ton of fawns in their first 30 days of life. And after that, they can't really catch the deer, but they'll depend on the mountain lion's kill of deer, right? So that's been having a heavy impact on the migratory deer herds as well. And so, I mean, I think you take all these factors and you add them all in together, mountain lions, bears, they all need to be managed. They're not the only species out there. I mean, the Department of Fish and Wildlife is responsible for manage all of our wildlife species, not just apex predators. And I think that we've seen a little bit of a change when it comes to that management, to where they're certainly putting these apex predators on a pedestal, and the rest of our wildlife here in California, not to mention our livestock, are suffering deeply as a result. So I know you're working on it, LeeAnne, and I'm honored to be tag teaming with you and the sheriff on trying to seek some of these changes. So next step are to come up with what types of suggested changes we'd like to see in the depredation policy, which the department has asked us for. They've asked us to come back with suggested changes in the depredation policy. The sheriff and I are working with you on that, so hopefully we'll see those in the next month or so, because that's the timeline that the Board of Supervisors gave us. And then, so that'll be step one, is just trying to come up with some common sense changes to depredation policy. Hopefully we'll be successful in that. From there, if anything can be done in the legislature, when you look at these other counties that are suffering from mountain lion problems as well, I mean, if there's enough of a groundswell across the state that something needs to be done, perhaps we can get some common sense legislation introduced, and getting that 4/5 vote will be frankly nearly impossible, but we at least have to try. I think that's my feeling. I think we've got some legislators that are interested in doing that.
I think we have to move forward in any way we can to rectify the situation.
Appreciate you taking your time today to let those people out there that are watching this situation, that are living this situation here in our county and beyond, know that we're not just sitting idle. We're moving forward, working with the department and working with the legislature on trying to find some common sense changes to mountain lion management policy. That depredation policy language that you're talking about, that will be finalized here in the next few weeks. And appreciate at that time coming on and briefing the community exactly on where we're at and what's going on, and at least keeping the community engaged and aware of what's happening and how things are moving forward. I think they deserve that.
Well, and at the board meeting, when I bring forth what we are suggesting for depredation policy changes, we will be doing an update. I'll have updated numbers of everything, and it'll be out on the Dorado County website, which is edcgov.us. And if you go to the Board of Supervisors agenda items, you can go and get all the presentations we posted there.
Well, LeeAnne, thank you for what you and your staff are doing to try to help protect El Dorado County livestock, not to mention our public from problem cats. I'm honored to work with you and the sheriff on trying to seek some of these changes. We're doing all we can, and I think the community needs to know that, and we'll keep them updated on progress that we're making.
Thank you, Bill. It was good talking with you.
Thank you very much. And thank you to our viewers for tapping in today to the Outdoor View, the place where we educate, connect, and learn to protect our outdoor traditions. Stay tuned, and we'll continue to keep you posted on what's happening when it comes to mountain lions here in El Dorado County and statewide in California.